This is the new Smart #1, and it's a little bit like the CarWow YouTube channel. You see, the Smart started off small, just like this channel did, but it has now grown to quite some size. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this car. I'm going to talk you around the exterior. I'm going to show you the interior. We're going to see how practical it is. I'm going to take it for a drive. I'll also tell you what's good about it. That's genius. What's not so good about it. And of course, I'm going to launch it to see how quick it is from 0 to 60 miles an hour, because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching CarWow. How many subscribers have we got now? Ooh. Buy, sell, CarWow. Let's start this video by talking about the design of the new Smart #1. But before we do this, I should explain that Smart is now owned jointly between Mercedes-Benz and Chinese car maker Geely. Geely also own Volvo, and this car is built in China and it uses Chinese technology. However, it's been designed in Germany, and if you look at it, it sort of reminds me a bit of a Mercedes EQB, only it's the design that Mercedes should have used. It looks better. I really like the look of it from the rear. Got this full-length light bar, the way it all just flows neatly together. The only thing I'm not sure about is that I want to call it a number one, not a #1. But apparently Smart says it's #1. All right, moving down the side, you get 19-inch alloy wheels as standard, and obviously you've got this aero effect on them there for improved aerodynamics to help your range. Same with the door handles, that's why they're flush with the bodywork. This two-tone roof looks nice, and you've got the Smart logo here on the rear pillar. In some ways, from the side, there's something a bit mini countryman-ish about it. Yeah, it's got character. Moving towards the front, I really like the front of the car actually. The shape of the headlights sort of remind me of Spider-Man's eyes. Though overall there's something slightly spacey, space age about it, and slightly cartoonish, but I mean that in a good way. I like the way the light bar at the front lights up as well. It's a smart looking car. Ha 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 ha. It's the kind of car that you let out at junctions, I think. Don't you? Anyway, this car starts from £36,000, so it's very comparable to its rivals such as the Kia e-Niro and the BYD Atto 3. Do you know what? I think the interior of the Smart is even smarter than the exterior. It's very modern looking, isn't it? And very minimalist. Now, part of the reason for that is that most of the car's functions are done through this big touchscreen, and I really like the graphics. They are a bit computer game-ish and won't be for everyone, but I like them. You do have this little fox character there. He's your avatar, and he pipes up when you press the voice command button. So I'll press this and say,
"What would you like me to find for you now?"
"Open all the windows."
Okay, opening all windows.
Sorry, Foxman, changed my mind. "Close all the windows."
Okay, closing all windows.
You can control other functions like the blinds, the climate, and all that kind of stuff. Now, this screen is actually very slick and easy to operate, and another feature I like about it is I can control the front passenger seat through the screen, so I can move it forwards and backwards and alter the angle of the backrest. You know, when someone has been in the passenger seat, they've had it all the way back, and they get out, then there's someone in the back and you need to move the seat for them, you're like reaching across. Not here, it's all fine. You can also control other stuff like your ambient lighting. Look, 64 different colours, lovely. Obviously this also has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto if you don't want to use the onboard sat-nav system. One slight issue I do have is that you have to operate the climate control through the touchscreen. So rather than just turning a knob, if you want to increase the temperature, you have to dab, 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 fans. Press that, then dab, dab, dab. Though I suppose you could always ask Mr. Fox to help you out with that. Now, the next screen you have here is the digital driver's display. I'm not quite so impressed with this. The speed is just there over the left-hand side. I feel like it should be in the middle. Maybe you can set it up in the middle, but I haven't figured that out. And you can cycle through a few different menus, but there's not much you can do with it. Now, on the range-stopping premium version, which this car is, you get a heads-up display. So it doesn't matter about that speedo being a bit hard to read, because then you have it in front of you. But the entry-level car doesn't have that, which is a shame, because otherwise this car is so well equipped as standard. It also feels very well made. Nice quality materials about the place, and there's even like little pads here so you don't bang your knees there. Speaking of which, the center console is fairly robust, and it's only when you go lower down that the plastics feel a little bit more on the cheap side, but they're not terrible. As for the driving position, there's loads of adjustment in the steering wheel, and because you've got loads of headroom, if you want to jack up the driver's seat quite a way, even tall people will be fine. Makes you feel like you're in more of an SUV then. Another thing I like about it is the storage. So look, plenty of room under here, some cup holders under here, and it's a good time for me to show you the key, which I quite like. There's a place for your mobile phone there. I can even fit my fat folding phone in there. And you've got wireless charging underneath here, 2 USB-Cs and a 12-volt old-fashioned charging port. Loads of storage underneath here. You've got a decent-sized glove box and absolutely massive door bins. Look, huge flask. Fits no problem. There's room for another bottle as well. Another thing I like, and I wish all cars just had this, the gear selector on the steering column just makes life so much easier when you're manoeuvring. Why do other manufacturers just faff around with buttons to press or knobs to pull? Anyhow, let's move on to the back seats. Now, one of the problems I have with quite a few EVs is that because you've got the batteries underneath the floor, they often have this seat base quite close to the floor, so you end up with little under thigh support. They do that because they can't have the seat too high because there's not enough headroom. But in this car, because it's quite tall, they can fit a normal seat with plenty of under thigh support, and you've still got loads of headroom. Even people over 6 foot will be fine back here. And the seats are generally quite comfy. Though there is this bit that just protrudes here, which sort of just like makes it feel like you're sat on something. If you sit like that, it's okay though. And knee room, even if you slouch like that, is still really good. There's a completely flat floor, so there's loads of room for everyone's feet, and yeah, you can stretch out a little bit underneath the seat in front. If you want to carry 3 people in the back at once, yeah, everyone will be fine for headroom. It's a little bit tight on shoulder space, but it's okay. And do you know what? One thing I like about this is that the quality doesn't cheapen out back here like it does in some cars. So you've even got soft touch materials here on the door tops in the back. You wouldn't have that in a Volkswagen, FYI. Now, there's decent storage here. Look, you've got some pockets on the seat backs, little storage area there. You've got 2 USBs there, but one's a C and one's old-fashioned. Surely the people in the back will be the young people. They'll have the most modern phones. You should have 2 USB-Cs. Speaking of very young people, carrying a child seat is easy in this car. So the ISOFIX anchor points are really, really easy to get to. The doors open fairly wide and it's dead easy to fit a child seat in here. And there's plenty of space, so even with the bulky rear facing seat, you're fine. Now underneath here, you've got your armrest. A bit of a shame these cup holders aren't covered up because you end up putting your wrist in them if you're using it. Are they big enough for a flask? Just about, that's good. So too are the rear door bins, and look, where is it? You've got some through loading if you need to carry long objects and still 2 people in the back seats. Speaking of which, look, you can slide the seats here in the back like that and alter the angle of the seat back. See if I can do it. It's going to give me RSI doing it. Oh, come on. Look, no, you don't want to sit like that, not like that, not like that. You're only going to have it up like that, aren't you, if you're wanting to fit as much as you can in the boot or torture your passenger. Should we check out the boot? There is a reason why you might want to slide those seats forward. You see, with them back, the boot capacity is 273 litres. Slide them all the way forward, then you have 411 litres of space. Though that's still less than a Kia e-Niro. That has a boot capacity of 475 litres of space. And if you click on the pop-out banner up there, or follow the link in the description below, you can watch my full in-depth video review of that car. Now, it's not all bad though, look. There's no load lip to lift stuff over, so it's easy to slide things in and get them out again. Also, there is some extra storage underneath here. There we go. And look, that's a Beats logo. That's because the range shopping car gets a Beats audio system as standard. It does eat into the little space there a touch, but probably worth it for the improved sound quality from your stereo. Other features here in the boot, some tie down points, some nets, and you've got a 12-volt socket there as well. Now, if you need to carry larger items, fold down the rear seats by pulling these tags, and the seat belts don't snag when you put the seats back because they're actually tethered to the top of the seats. And as you can see, when you fold down the rear seats, you get a nice flat low bay, which makes it easier to slide items to the front. I wonder if this car has a boot at the front though, being that it's electric. Let's find out. Oh, look, it does. But it's tiny, 15 litres. I'm not going to be able to get in that. Tesla Model Y has a bigger front boot. And if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner appearing in the top right-hand corner of the screen right now, or follow the link in the description below. Anyhow, that brings on to 5 annoying things about the Smart #1. It's a shame that those lovely big rear windows only go down 2/3 of the way. This little black strip of plastic is very reflective, and when you're driving along, you get lots of flickering in it. It sort of makes you think that it's an LCD screen and it's displaying images, almost like the news ticker on a news TV programme, but it's not. However, it does catch your eye and you end up glancing at it when you should be looking at the road. The doors don't quite extend all the way over the sills, and this bit protrudes slightly, and when you're driving, when it's raining or muddy or just bad weather, this part of the car will get covered in grime, and because it extends slightly, you always end up just rubbing the back of your trousers on it as you're getting it in and out. So the back of your legs will be covered in the dirt that was on there. These door handles, which lie flush to the bodywork, look cool and they improve the car's aerodynamics. And normally when you've got the key and you open it, they'll pop out for you, so they're easy to grab. However, if you've already opened the car and you're sat in it with the key, and let's say someone's just nipped into the shop to go get some snacks or something, and they come back out, the door handles will have retracted, and then they'll have to open the door like this, which is a bit annoying. The frame rate from the reversing camera is a little bit low. It makes the whole picture look jerky, and that makes it harder to judge exactly where to position the car. You can see it on this image as well. Look, well, I like the fact you get this 3D model. Once again, it's a little bit on the jerky side. However, this does bring me on to 5 cool things about this car. For instance, when you indicate, it flashes up the bird's eye view, so you can just check your blind spots. And it's going to be hard to notice this on the camera, but the indicator tick tock plays through the respective speaker. So when you indicate left, you hear it over on the left, and when you indicate right, you hear it on the right. I really like that. There's Isofix on the front passenger seat, which means you can have your little baby next to you so you can keep an eye on them while you're driving. This car has a brilliant air quality control system. So if you use Smart Air, it will monitor the quality of the air outside the vehicle and inside it, and it'll alter the climate control and the ventilation accordingly so that you're always sat in good quality air. Speaking of which, imagine you've just gone out on a date and you're waiting for your date to come out of the house, and you had a bit of a dodgy curry the night before and you think, oh, I've got plenty of time before they arrive, so you let out a cheeky fart in your car. All of a sudden though, they appear walking towards the car sooner than you expected, and your car absolutely stinks. What do? I'll tell you what you do. If you've got this smart car, you hit the deodorization button, and what that'll do is lower the windows slightly, then blast the air conditioning to get rid of that nasty smell. I particularly like the fact that you have an icon with a little fox avatar doing a nasty fart and then the air blowing it away. Brilliant. The car's load cover fits underneath the false floor, which means it's not getting yeeted, it's getting refitted. Standard equipment is really impressive. You don't have to pay extra for stuff like the panoramic glass roof, nor adaptive cruise control. Did you know you could get a Brabus version of this Smart #1? That is dual motor and it has 428 horsepower, but that's for a different review, all right? Save that for another day. Today, we've got the standard car and you can get it in 2 trim levels. There's this Premium or there's the entry level Pro Plus. Actually, wait a minute. Pro Plus was a caffeine tablet I used to take at university to wake me up in the morning after I'd had a heavy night drinking. Both versions are rear-wheel drive with a single motor that puts out 272 horsepower. They also have a 62 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Now, the range of the Pro Plus is 260 miles, whereas this Premium can do 273 miles. Not sure why there's a difference. They both charge at 150 kilowatts if you can find a DC charger fast enough, and you can actually charge this Premium version on AC current at up to 22 kilowatts, whereas the Pro Plus can only charge at 7 kilowatts. So if you can find a 22 kilowatt charger for this Premium version, it will charge the battery in just 3 hours, which is pretty good on AC current. Anyway, shall we see what it's like to drive? And I should come clean, look. Obviously I'm in a field, so this is not plugged into anything, it's just for show. All right, let's see what the Smart is like to drive. And the first thing I'm gonna do is seek out that pothole because I want to test the suspension. And you know what? It feels very good at dealing with potholes and drain covers and all the kind of nonsense that you'll find in town. It's nice and comfy over bumps, actually. Pleased with that. Another thing I really like about this car is the forward visibility. The dash is quite low, the windscreen is huge, the view forward is great. These pillars are quite large, but the side windows are so big that you can just mitigate against blind spot issues there. The back window is really big as well, I like that. And there's an extra little window towards the rear pillar to help minimise, once again, the effect of that fat rear pillar. So that's not too much of a blind spot either. Now to see what the manoeuvrability is like, I'm going to do a U-turn. Turning circle is 11 meters, and this is really handy. This is helping me out now. Have I got this wrong? Oh, look at that. That is so good that it tells me exactly in centimeters how much space I've got. It's a shame that it bottoms out at 25 centimeters. I'd have liked it to have taken me down to the exact amount, but look, I got round there. Now, one thing that I'm doing at the moment is driving along without touching the brake pedal at all. For all of that manoeuvre, didn't touch it. I'm going to see if I can finish this segment without touching the brake pedal at all, because I'm using the one pedal drive, which is quite good. And it's how I like to drive with an electric car. The problem I find with this system though, compared to some others, is that when you initially lift off, it does take a second for that regen braking to kick in. So there's this moment when you are coasting, like there, I'm coasting, and now it's slowing me down, and now it's going to bring me to a standstill, which is going to confuse the person behind me, but there we go. So that's a little bit of a shame. Another bit of a shame with the brakes is that the first bit that you press on the pedal seems to do nothing, just the first few centimeters, but then after that the braking is all good and quite consistent, and I have no idea when it's going from regen braking to using the normal friction brakes with the calipers gripping the brake disc. I have no idea where that is. They've really sorted that transition out, unlike on some electric cars which can feel a little bit grabby. Overall in town, really impressed with this. Yeah, it just stopped enough then on one pedal driving for me not to have touched the brake, just. Anyway, let's try this out on some faster roads. Okay, so this road I'm travelling on now is a 60 mile an hour, coming to a 70. First thing I'm going to do is put my regen mode into standard, because that's how I prefer for just driving at higher speeds. It feels more natural. Now what I want to do is just see the pickup of this car from 40 miles an hour to 70, say if you're joining a motorway or a dual carriageway. So I'm going to floor it in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, pickup's good, and that's 70. It's not bonkers quick, but it's easily quick enough. And when you are going quickly, this car is very quiet, well insulated for wind noise, also hardly any tyre noise, very relaxing. Seats are comfy as well. Once again, really impressed. It's quite nice to just cruise in. But there is the matter of range. So this car is supposed to be capable of 272 miles on a charge. It's saying on the trick computer 26.7 kilowatt hours per 100 miles, which equates to 3.75 miles per kilowatt hour. And the battery capacity is 62 kilowatt hours. So if I do the maths, this car's returning about 232 miles from a full charge, which is about 85% of what Smart claims, which is actually pretty good in my experience for electric cars. Final test then, a winding country road. Now this particular section of road is actually quite bumpy, and often with electric cars their suspension can get a little bit springy and fidgety when you're going at speed over an uneven surface. But what's really impressive about this is that it doesn't seem to. It's much more composed than many other electric cars I've driven. I think it's to do with their weight usually. They have to fit them with slightly stiffer springs and they just bounce about a bit. This though, it's doing the job. Now, here's some corners. And it does a good job around these as well. I could make the steering like medium or heavy. Let's try heavy actually. So it might make it seem more sporty. It does feel more heavy, but it just seems artificial. Let's just go back to light. That's fine. And the steering itself, you know, it's good in town. It's good when you're going faster. Puts the car where you want it. Not exactly feelsome, if that's what you're into, but if you're buying this kind of car, you just want to be able to go around a bend, not topple over, and see you're right. And this does that. Grips the road well enough. And another thing is that if you're coming out of a corner and suddenly floor the throttle, it doesn't lose traction. And you don't feel the stability control coming in either. It's just all very smooth and progressive. I like that. It drives very well. But there is, of course, one last thing for me to do. Smart says this car should do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 6.7 seconds. But let's find out the reality with my specialist timing gear. Off we go. What's it going to do? Faster than what they said. 6.2. That felt effortless. So then, what's my final verdict on the new Smart #1? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should just go right ahead and buy it. It really is one of the very best electric family cars you can buy.